Next, I'm going to invite Sagarika. She is a dentist and a public health advocate, and she has recently completed her master's in public health from University of Glasgow, and she has got very good experience in delivering dental and health services to under in the populations of in India. Actually, she is from an, I guess she worked a lot in India. I guess that's nice, and she has got some. She has done some impactful programs in menstrual health, tobacco cessation, and nutrition, and that's really excellent. Like you went for this tobacco cessation. That's an excellent step. That's great. And she actually worked. She's actually aiming to work to bridge the gap between grassroots activism and evidence-based public health practices. That's fantastic. And so Sagarika, it's all yours. And please go ahead.
Hello, hi.
Yeah,
Uh,
hi.
can you start my PPT, please?
Yeah, sure. We're going to share it for you.
So, thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm really grateful to be here today to speak about something deeply personal yet far too often overlooked: menstrual health. Menstruation is a natural biological process, and yet around the world it's treated with shame, secrecy, and silence. For many menstruators, it becomes not just a physical experience, but a source of stigma, social exclusion, and lost opportunities. Today, I want to take you on a journey from stigma that isolates to the solutions that empower, and ultimately to sustainability that includes environment, equity, and dignity. Together, we'll explore how menstruation connects public health, education, gender justice, and climate responsibility, and why it deserves a central space in how we imagine truly inclusive health systems. So, let's begin. Next slide, please. Menstrual health affects over half of the population, and yet it's still not treated as core public health issue. But this is more about hygiene. It's about poor menstrual health management, increases the risk of UTI, urinary tract infection, reproductive complications, and other preventable conditions, especially in places where access to clean water and sanitation is already limited. And when we ignore menstruation in public policy and planning, we also ignore opportunities to improve gender equality, mental health, and education. Menstrual health is essential for achieving multiple sustainable development goals, especially those related to health, education, gender equality, and clean water and sanitation. So, when we talk about menstruation, we are not just talking about periods, we are talking about public health, rights, and resilience. Menstrual health is not a niche issue, is deeply connected to education, mental health, gender equality, wash, that is water, sanitation and hygiene, and climate justice. So let's move to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So let's discuss the persistent stigma of menstruation. So, research shows that 60% of the adults report that menstrual stigma affects how comfortable they feel in their own bodies. Cultural taboos, shames, and secrecies are deeply rooted. In many communities, menstruating girls are not told to enter temple, kitchens, or even classrooms. They are taught to hide pads, stay silent, and to pretend as if essential part of life doesn't exist. This stigma doesn't just lead to awkward conversation or lack thereof. It creates a cycle of silence where misinformation spreads, support system fails, and girls feel what's happening to their body is somehow wrong or shameful. I want to share a moment that deeply impacted me. So you can see a picture, and there is a girl in red. So it was my talk during a menstrual health session in a village near Nagpur. So I was speaking to this group of girls, and one girl, Rani. sat quietly the whole time, watching but not saying anything. And after the session, she came up and she said softly, Didi, I thought I was bleeding because I did something wrong. This moment was really heartbreaking because what should be a sign of health was for her a symbol of guilt. This is a power of stigma. It doesn't just affect how we talk about menstruation, it affects young girls see themselves, their worth, and their place in the society. Next slide, please. So let's see how it impacts health, education, and well being. Menstruation, when unsupported or misunderstood, can have a domino effect on a person's entire life, starting with their education and rippling into their health, confidence, future opportunities. Let's start with education. Around the world, especially in low and middle income countries, many girls miss school during their periods. Some miss up to 20% of school year and others eventually drop out completely. Why? Because they lack access to products, there are no safe private toilets at school, or they simply are too embarrassed to be seen. The result is devastating, not just academically, but also psychologically. Every school day missed chips away her confidence, her sense of belonging. Then there's the physical health. Girls who don't have access to proper menstrual products often resort to unsafe alternatives like old clothes, newspapers, sawdust, or even ashes. These practices increase the risk of infection, rashes, and reproductive health issues, and due to shame, may never speak up, seek help, which only deepens the problem. Mental health is affected too. Shame, secrecy, and teasing create feelings of anxiety, low self worth, and fear. Some girls are bullied for leaking or for simply carrying a pad to toilet. There's also a broader social impact. In some cultures, menstruating individuals are treated as unclean. So here you can see a image. It's something called chopadi in Nepal, when menstruating women are made to sleep in huts or cow sheds, often in rash, unsafe condition. Some have even died due to snake bites, cold, smoke inhalation. These practices, from subtle shame to outright isolation, show us one thing: menstruation is not just a private issue, it's a public health challenge, it's a mental health issue, it's a barrier to education, safety, and dignity. And if we don't address it systematically and compassionately, we risk leaving millions of girls and women behind simply for having a period. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about global reality of period poverty. One of the most urgent and visible consequences of menstrual stigma and neglect. Period poverty means not having access to menstrual products, clean toilets, safe disposable facilities, or even accurate information. But at its core, period poverty is not just a lack of products, it's lack of choices, dignity, and power. Today, more than 500 million people worldwide experience period poverty. In India, around 70% of women say they cannot afford sanitary pads. In sub Saharan Africa, it's estimated that 1 in 10 girls miss school during periods. And in marginalized communities, whether it's slums, refugee camps, or remote rural village, access is even worse. Without pads or clean toilets, many girls use unsanitary alternatives like old rags, newspaper, cotton waste, or even soil and ashes. Not only in this is physically harmful, but emotional toll is just damaging. Even in high income countries, many low income menstruators ration pads, use products for longer than safe, or miss work or school. Period poverty disproportionately affects young people, trans, non binary menstruators, people with disabilities, and those from marginalized ethnic backgrounds. When someone can't manage their periods with dignity, they are not just comfortable, they are being denied a basic human right. Period poverty hold girls back from school, women from employment, and entire communities from the progress. It tells a young girl that her body is too expensive to manage, that she can't afford to bleed, and this is simply unacceptable. Let's move to the next slide. So, when we think about menstruation, we often focus on access and affordability. But there is another side we urgently need to talk about: the environmental cost of how we manage periods. A single disposable pad can take 500 to 800 years to decompose. And in India alone, over 12 billion of these pads are discarded every single year. Most of these contain plastic, the equivalent of 4 plastic bags per pad. Now multiply that by every menstruator, every cycle for decades. But the harm goes beyond just environment. For the consumer, these pads can cause rashes, irritations, and exposure to chemicals like dioxins and synthetic fragrances. For the disposer, usually sanitation workers, often from marginalized communities, handling used pads without protections possess serious health risks. And for the environment, they contribute to landfills, water pollutions, and when burned, air toxicity. In many places with limited waste management, burning is the only option. This means toxic fumes enter very air people breathe. This is a triple threat to the person using period products, to those forced to dispose of it, and to the planet itself. So, what's the way forward? We must promote sustainable menstrual products that are reusable, safer, and eco conscious, which can be menstrual cups, reusable cloth pads, and biodegradable pads. These alternatives are not just better for the environment, they are better for the health, for equity, and for long term affordability. And when introduced through community education and open dialogue, they are embraced, not rejected. Let's move to the next slide. So far, we have talked about challenges, but here's the good news: change is not only possible, it's already happening. What you see here on the screen are some moments from the field, from real reasons me and my team have conducted in communities, schools, and villages. These are the photos of young girls and boys engaging with information about menstruation, many of them for the very first time. One of the most impactful things we have done is organize period parties. Now I know that that might may sound light-hearted, but it is actually incredibly powerful. These are safe, welcoming spaces where we create an environment of openness, where menstruation isn't widespread about. It's celebrated, understood, and normalized. In these sessions, we talk about biology of period, demonstrate how menstrual cups our reusable pads work, and most importantly, will listen. We answer to questions like: will a cup fit? Can I go to school while using this? What if someone sees me in the washroom using a cloth pad? We involve boys in the conversation too, because changing mindset isn't just a girl's burden. We can also train local peer educators, because we know that change sticks better when it comes from within the community. And we partner with schools, NGOs, and health workers, building bridges between knowledge and action. What we see is transformational. Girls who were silent at the start became confident by the end. Curiosity replaces shame, fears gives way to agency. These aren't just photos, these are stories of reclaimed dignity, shared learning, and quiet revolutions. And it reminds me every time: we don't need huge institution to change the world. Sometimes we just need a group, a room, and the right conversation. Let's move to the other side. Next slide, please. So this photo captures something. No, one back. Yeah. This photos captures something close to my heart, a moment where our team was actively working on the ground to support menstrual health. What you see isn't just a campaign or a project, it's a collective commitment to inclusion, dignity, and gender justice. Because menstrual equity is not just about giving out products or running sessions, it's about reshaping systems that have for too long told menstruators to stay silent and stay small. Let's look why menstrual equity matters so deeply in public health and gender equality. Personal dignity. Everyone deserves to manage their periods with dignity. When we support menstrual health, we help people understand their bodies and feel ownership rather than shame. This isn't just about hygiene, it's about bodily autonomy. Non discrimination. Menstruation should never be a barrier. It should not keep anyone from learning, working, or participating fully in the society. Menstrual equity means building systems where no one is left behind because of their biology. Leadership. When we address menstrual health openly, we create a safe space for girls and women to lead conversation, to lead organizations, to lead communities. When a girl doesn't have to hide her period, she is more likely to stand up, speak up, and take up space. Next slide, please. We have seen the challenges. Now let's talk about what is working and what works. Real change is happening and it's being driven by bold policy, creative innovations, and strong community engagements. Policy setting foundation in 2020, I have been in Scotland for 2 years now. Scotland has made a history by becoming first country in the world to offer fee period products to everyone in school, public buildings, and community spaces. Any public space you go here in Scotland, you can find menstrual products free to use. That law was built on one simple belief: menstrual health is a right, not a privilege. And it's just not Scotland. Wales and New Zealand provide free products in school. In Kerala, India, local governments have introduced pad vending machines for and free pad distribution programs in public schools. These are the examples shows us what possible when policy takes menstrual health seriously. Innovation changing the conversation. Innovation is not just about the products, it about the perspective. Menstrual cups are reusable, pads are cost effective, environmentally sustainable, and increasing welcomed when people provide under proper demonstrations. Creative outreach like period party, comics, peer educations, and interactive workshops helps break down the stigma and makes learning fun, not frightening. In my work, I've seen girls go from hesitant to confident, all because we approach menstruation with empathy and creativity. And let's focus on education. While we have already explored the role of education earlier, let me just say this: without accurate, age appropriate, inclusive education, none of these solutions are sustainable. Education ensures that products are used correctly, stigma is challenged, and knowledge has become integrated. Let's move to the next slide. So, this is my last slide, my closing reflection. So, whether it's a law, a lesson, or a low cost cup, the solution starts with care and courage. And if after today you can convince even one menstruator to switch to sustainable product or even just talk openly about periods, that would be a win for them, a win for you, and a win for our planet. Because a period should never be full stop in anyone's life. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a fantastic presentation. The topic which is to be a secret is no more a secret, according to you, and the people should leave with that particular stigma. That's really great, and you are doing a very great job. That's excellent on your part, Sagarika. And the presentation is also very perfect and very informative, and slides are presented very perfectly. Thank you so much for your presentation. And any questions, you can just send us, and we are going to definitely send it to Sagarika, and she's going to answer them. Thanks a lot for your time and your presentation, Sagarika. That's great.